Hey everyone, it is the Friday edition of Hashtag Malkin Live. I'm so excited because I have two doers coming on the show. One of the distinctions I want to make with the programs that I've been doing for the live streams here on YouTube and Periscope, Twitter, as well as the show that I'll be doing soon on Newsmax that's going to debut, we hope, next month. The distinction is that I want to bring in more than the usual suspects that you see on cable news, the yackers, the full-time talkers, and highlight examples, shining examples of ordinary citizens stepping up to the plate to do extraordinary things. And this past week has been a reintroduction of mask madness and lockdown extremism, just as people were beginning to get back to normal, getting back to their jobs, being able to breathe and both inhale and exhale a little bit more. Here comes the public health industrial complex to ratchet up fear again. And my first guest is a political activist in Oklahoma, and I'm going to bring her in right now. Hi, Charlie.
Hello, Michelle.
It's Charlie K. And really, welcome back to Twitter.
Yeah. I have my prisoner.
Yeah, that's right.
Handcuffs.
Or this too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a huge and growing following on Twitter up until, well, it was January, right? That you were unceremoniously deplatformed. And I mean, obviously you haven't really had a chance to talk about it. And I'd love for you to be able to say your piece about that, especially since everybody now wants to talk about cancel culture.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I had the last post that I made was a video of me getting my Trump 45. I got me a Trump 45 because the 44 didn't work for 8 years. That's the last video that I posted, and I showed everybody a shirt that one of my customers had bought for me, and I wore it behind the bar. And all of a sudden, the next day, I mean, people reposted it, and the next day I was like, oh, I can't get onto my Twitter. Why can't I get on my Twitter? And it says that I was suspended permanently. So.
And what was the rationale? Everything is a pretext, of course, but do you remember what guideline they claimed that you had violated?
Well, I guess you can't call Don Lemon and CNN a bunch of laughing, retarded parents. So the R word is the bad word.
Yeah, no, right?
You can't use a word for its actual meaning.
Yeah, so. That's right. How dare you mean what you say?
Right? I know. Geez, that free speech. Ouch.
Yeah. But people can find you on Instagram.
Yes.
And
I have Instagram, and then I also have Parler. Or how do you say it?
Parler.
And then I'm also on Gab. So on Parler, I'm at Fun Size Charlie, and it's the same way on Instagram. But my Instagram is more private, you know.
Yeah.
Parler is more what I use as like my old Twitter.
Right.
But it's just hard to get a following too, because you know, Parler is kind of, you know, it's a lot of conservatives, but we don't have a lot of traction with the opposing groups, which that's what I miss most about Twitter is being able to have that conversation with other people.
Right. That's right. And of course, that's exactly what the censors, the overlords are trying to take away. Because God forbid we actually influence people and change their minds.
Right. Open their mind. I mean, opening your mind and thinking for yourself. God forbid.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And so you've been off of Twitter since January, but you continue to be politically active and engaged, and you're going to be doing something this week. Tell us more about the fight that's going on in Oklahoma City.
Yes. Okay. So I decided just to get off my butt and do something and stop caving into the mob by not saying anything. And so I decided to go ahead and create a group. And I unfortunately had to get back on Facebook, which I'm not a big Facebook fan. But in order to create a group, you have to start a Facebook. So we started a group called United We Stand OK. And we were able to collaborate with other groups in Oklahoma called Make Mass Voluntary OK and Make Mass Voluntary Edmond. And there's another one from Tulsa checking it right now because they're also another big group that have done protests already and rallies.
Hmm.
They're awesome in Tulsa. So they were kind of one of the people that inspired me because I heard about it and I said, you know what? There's nothing going on in Oklahoma City. There are, but there's just a small groups that haven't had the opportunity to go do something. So I said, you know what? Since they're figuring out a vote this weekend, or actually it was supposed to be next Tuesday, but they moved the vote to Friday instead. The city council meeting was yesterday morning, and they moved it up. So I thought that was kind of weird. So more people are even more motivated to get together and rally up. Unfortunately, they're going to come up with a vote today. So if they do mandate masking, it'll be effective starting tomorrow. But I don't know. I can't tell people what to do if they don't want to wear a mask.
Hmm.
And so we'll see how it goes. We have a lot of people that are excited to come and use their voice and inspire other people to stand up for themselves.
Yes, the science certainly does not support the idea that the large number of healthy people in the general population should wear these things. They don't protect you yourself, they don't protect other people. It's kind of redundant if you've got the mask and you're doing 6 feet social distancing.
And then you have the glass or the plastic
the shield thing,
on.
right?
So you have a shield and then you have a mask and then you're 6 feet away. I mean, they might as well put us all in bubbles.
Be quiet, because that's going to be next, right?
I know. Everything we joke about, that we meme about, turns into reality.
Yeah, seriously, right? A couple of years ago, it was, hey, they're going to go after Mount Rushmore. Hey, they've gone after Mount Rushmore, right?
Of course, yeah.
And then as I saw you noting this morning on Telegram, and your Telegram is Charlie K, right?
Yes,
so people can
well.
follow you. I'm going to flash all of these at the end so people
Okay.
know where to find you.
I'm not very techie. I'm trying to learn.
Same. I'll put those all up. But
Okay.
1 second it's wear a damn mask, right? That's the hashtag. And the next thing it is going to be is take the damn vaccine.
Of course, absolutely. And I think that's what they're going to roll out next. When I was listening in on the city council meeting with Mayor Holt, they were talking about in about 12 to 18 months, they're supposed to come out with a vaccine, and they want to make sure at least 60 to 70% of Oklahomans get the vaccine. So of course our children are going to be, I have an 11-year-old, they're going to be going back to school. And I think one of the stipulations are going to be, you have to take that COVID-19 vaccine in order for you to get into public school.
Yes. And I think that's why both of us as moms are fighting as hard as we
Absolutely.
are, right? It is for our children. Absolutely.
Their future, yeah.
So your 11-year-old is in what grade?
She is in 5th grade. So
she hasn't been in school since whatever, spring break, basically.
Well, even before. I mean, I guess, they did spring break and then they never came back. So they never got to say bye to their friends.
Right.
And people forget that, all of us adults, we go through it and the pain of all the psychological slavery. And now our kids are going through it too. And being all emotionally messed up from it because they don't know how to deal with this situation. They've never had to deal with it before. They can't enjoy their childhood.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's so heartbreaking for me. I mean, more than, of course, our economy, but our kids are going to grow up thinking this is okay.
Yes, that's right. It is a huge, massive behavioral modification scheme.
Absolutely.
Think about it. So has the school district there announced what they're going to do for the fall?
So more public schools have announced, they have a list where they're talking about 3 days at school and then 2 days distant learning, something like that. And then they're trying to condition everybody into thinking that online learning is best and distant learning. They changed the word to distant learning instead of online learning. So in other words, teachers will teach their kids, teach the students online, but the parents have to help them. But it's just, You might as well homeschool your kids at this point.
Yeah, I think so. But between all the different configurations that school districts are discussing, that is the best option, is to
Hmm.
homeschool.
Yep.
Because if it's some combination of in-person and online distance, whatever you call it, think about the in-person environment. Everybody's going to have to wear the bacteria moisture traps,
Hmm.
and they're not going to be able to have gym time. They were at least our school district for my youngest, my son, 16-year-old. They're saying that there's not going to be cafeteria, right?
No.
Everybody's going to be confined in one room, six
Hmm.
feet apart, and then even in that, they're going to spend a lot of time online in person. So,
Yeah.
like, what is
They
the
won't have
point?
recess. They won't have recess. And
Right?
for kids to tell kids they cannot have recess,
Yeah.
what is the point of school?
Right. And then
That's the
no
best part of school is lunch and recess and
lunch recess.
PE
Yes.
and to have fun with other kids and of course, being able to interact with other students outside of your classroom,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know.
And then all the extracurriculars. I don't know about you, but my son was performing arts. So the
Mhm.
musical is canceled, choir is canceled. We're wrecking an entire generation.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, even as far as extracurricular activities, our daughter is in Taekwondo. And even then, they have to wear a mask at a physical activity, like
Okay.
while they're doing that. But there's a lot of leniency with her studio, the studio that she's in. I'm really grateful. They're awesome, but they have to follow protocol so their business don't get shut down.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but they are just bombarding them with all these new protocols left and right.
Yeah.
And it's mm,
Yeah. Now, do you work out? Do you go to a gym?
We were actually, so our apartment has a gym,
Uh-huh.
and they decided to start making signs where you can only have 4 people at the gym at once. And then they changed it to where you can't have guests outside. You can't let other guests into the gym. And then we also have a pool for our apartment, but you have to schedule uh, 2 hour. Okay, you have to schedule a day in advance, and you can only go to the pool for 1 to 2 hours. And so the same rule applies to the gym as well. So it's just like, okay, I can't just go to the gym when I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I have to think of when I feel like I'm motivated to work out.
Right, right. Same thing. We were members of a big, like, sort of mega gym, canceled that, went to a smaller gym. And, up until the mask mandate was introduced yesterday,
Mhm.
it was more of a lax environment, just like you're saying with Taekwondo. People are like, they're sane, they're like,
Mhm.
okay, right, we're in here now, we're safe, let's just do what we want.
Right.
But now part of the mask mandate madness is it's exacerbating the tensions between people, right? And we've seen all the crazy viral videos of people, whether you're hectoring someone because you are wearing a mask or aren't, everybody's
Oh
going to put
yeah.
it on social media. People are
More
getting in
division.
fights,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. It's okay, so my brother lives in Virginia
Mm-hmm.
and he is in the military. He's currently serving our country. And I
Bless
say
you.
that with pride because he was so upset when he got bullied out of the grocery store 2 months ago. And it's what motivated me to do this as well, because my brother has no one to go to. No one is protesting in Virginia. I mean, there's a few, but there's not a lot of groups that can do it because Ralph Northam, yeah,
That guy.
yeah. So they mandated it, I think, sometime last month. But before it was mandated, he got kicked out of the. He didn't really get kicked out. He just left the grocery store. This guy was following my brother around, and he's like, I serve this country, right? And he's like, I don't care if you serve this country. You're not wearing your mask, and you're endangering everybody. He was just like harassing my brother, following him all over the grocery store.
Oh,
And
jeez.
my brother is this big guy, and I mean, and it's this little guy that's following my brother around, and he was just basically taunting him for my brother to, act on it.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
my brother just left his groceries and left the store and was like, I'm never going back to that grocery store ever again. I mean, you
That's,
can't go anywhere.
yeah, that's insane. I mean, our country's turned into snitches, tattletales. I mean, call it whatever you want. It's insane. And what's interesting to me about, what you're doing in Oklahoma is it would be one thing if it was Gavin Newsom in California. right?
Hmm.
Or de Blasio in New York.
Hmm.
This is the reddest of the red states in
Oh.
Oklahoma. David Holt, your mayor, is a Republican. Kevin Stitt, your governor, is a
Hmm.
Republican. Who are they serving? Who are they answering to? You know, my whole thing always is to ask, well, follow the money. But like, there's other things going on here, right?
Yes, somebody had posted something recently about how David Holt is in bed with some globalists. So that wasn't a surprise to me, and somebody had posted something like that, and I haven't really looked so much into it, but it's not a surprise. And then whenever I was watching the city council yesterday, I mean, it was just, I mean, it was almost 50-50, but it seemed like half of the people in the city council were more were very pro mask, but they had other agendas. It seemed. I mean, it was just like it was just. I felt so disheartened and discouraged by that city council as an Oklahoman resident because I feel like, man, if that's our city council, then how the heck can we stand up for ourselves? We're outnumbered now
Yeah.
because of the leaders that are there. They're
Yeah.
not representing us. They're only representing themselves. They don't. It's, and it's sad because they're supposed to be. David Mayor Holt is supposed to be a Republican. He was
Mhm.
supposed to stand behind what he said when he first, came in office. But
Right.
you know,
Right. So you've got a multiple different groups and alliance of grassroots. Are there any elected officials, state legislators, any prominent conservatives or GOP people behind you? Because this has been a theme. It's like whether it was protests against the lockdown, protests against the monuments coming down. For the most part, it has been ordinary people stepping up to the plate because nobody else.
yeah. So I tried to reach out to like the GOP on the website, but like nobody really replied back. I did. It was kind of difficult to get a hold of people when all you're getting is recordings
Yes.
and nobody's calling you back. So I did that like a few months ago. I didn't do that recently because I just thought, oh well, if they're not going to do anything, I might as well get with people that are doing something. And
Yeah.
that's when I was able to find all these other groups on Facebook that are here in Oklahoma that want to make a difference and that want to stand up for themselves.
Okay. So just for people who might in our audience be in Oklahoma, on Facebook, it's United We Stand. Okay.
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 It's a
Awesome.
private group,
Mhm.
so it might be hard to find me, but right now I'm under the alias of Georgia Washington.
I love it.
I
Okay.
tried to do George Washington, but I got in trouble for that one. So
That's right.
I changed my
Georgia.
birthday. Yeah, so
Yeah.
now it's Georgia.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
But and then the other thing too, though, like I said, is people can follow you on Parlor Parlay at Fun Size Charlie.
Yes.
That's right.
Mhm.
And then let's see, Telegram. You are just
I
Charlie
think it's
K,
just
right?
I think it's just Charlie K. Yeah, I just try to keep everything as not as personal because I have to protect my family.
Yeah. So that's another thing too. The safety of you and your fellow organizers. Are you good on that? Or,
Well, we have to say that we are an open carry state
that's right.
and we have the right to bear arms and protect ourselves. So I feel very confident that this rally will be just fine.
Yeah.
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 So we'll have a lot of amazing patriots that are going to join. And either way, however way it goes, I just wanted to create a platform where people can come together and feel that they're not alone. And if they don't want to be that loudmouth like we are,
That's
then
right.
we'll do it for them. And at least they feel like something is changing and that they're not so hopeless. And a lot of people have been feeling so frustrated. Being behind the bar, I meet so many different personalities and people from all over the country because I'm right by the airport. And after I listen to everybody's problems and what they're going through and how they're dealing with COVID, and we're all on the same boat here. We just want to make a change. We just want to have the option, the choice for freedom. We don't care if whatever you want to do, but let's respect each other's freedoms and have the right to practice it. And that's the bottom line, really, of our group that we created.
Yeah. This madness has had such a horrible effect on people who are working class, middle class, small business owners. And as you mentioned, you work in a bar for a locally owned establishment. I'm sure it's been a roller coaster, right? Because
Mhm.
tell me about in Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma, were you one of the earliest ones to try and reopen? Because Colorado was.
We were one of the first ones. As
Hmm.
soon as we could do it, we opened. I'm so grateful that we have a owner and we have a general manager that is all about wanting to get people back to work. And more importantly, they are they're brave enough to stand up for themselves. They're a small business that's been around for 9 years, and they're not going to give up on having their own small business. And as we see, a lot of small businesses are getting shut down. We aren't. We actually, when we first opened, we were so busy. Our
Hmm.
entire restaurant was, I mean, it was full. We have 3 bars inside our restaurant, and all 3 bars were full. And of course, there was like a dip because I don't know, the news kept telling everybody the COVID spikes were going up, and we kind of noticed like people stopped coming, and then all of a sudden people started coming back out again, and it's been like I said, like you said, a roller coaster,
Yeah.
you know. But luckily, because we have been around for a while and we have a pretty great staff, um, our customers are still coming out to eat, to drink, and to gather socially. And yeah, so I think it's really still important that people that want to stay home should stay home. If you
Yes.
want to go out, but respect other people that are out enjoying their time too.
Yes. So now what happens today? There's a vote today?
Yeah, the vote is sometime this evening. I'm not sure the exact time,
Mhm.
but the city council and mayor, they're holding a vote to see if they're going to mandate it starting effective immediately.
Right.
I'm not sure of the time, but it's going to happen sometime today. So we will post it on our group page. Um, Regardless of the vote, whether they mandate it or not, we will still hold a protest rally because it's important for people to know that we have a voice. It's important for Oklahomans to know that they're not alone, despite of what happens, and we're going to continue this, and it's only going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so if there is a mask mandate in your city, of course it's going to affect so-called indoor public places like
Yeah.
restaurants. How will that change how I mean, are you going to have to wear that inside the, I mean, when you're,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
so last Friday, Mayor Holt already passed, I don't know what he called it, ordinance
Mhm.
saying that all restaurants and bars have to, employees have to wear masks. So every bartender, every staff has been wearing their masks. Unfortunately, it's not realistic because when you're working in a fast-paced environment and you can't breathe through your mask,
Yeah.
everyone touches their face and pulls their mask down. So the mask is underneath here and not even on their face because no one can breathe and the customer doesn't know who you're talking to except unless you look them in the eyes.
Right.
Because it's like this the whole time. You know? So I've been wearing a face shield. I
Uh-huh.
should have took it out. I should have had my husband guy, but it's a hilarious face shield. I
Uh-huh.
got it from a grocery store, and it covers your whole face. It's clear, but it's not a mask. And I started wearing a face shield because I have a medical condition. I really have a breathing, upper respiratory medical condition, and it's not their business on what it is. It's
That's right.
asthma, but still.
Right. Right. Right.
But I can't breathe
Yeah.
through that, and so I've been wearing the shield, and so has everybody as of last Friday. And because if you're not wearing one, it's a $200 fine, and then the restaurant also gets fined. And I don't want to be that person to
Right.
be responsible for fines, but out of respect for my boss. But do I like it? No, I don't like it. No, nobody likes it.
Yeah. Yeah. Has your daughter had to wear one? In Taekwondo, she's okay.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
have to wear one coming in. I think whenever it was only phase one,
Yeah.
they had to wear it while they were in class. But whenever phase 2 and 3 happened, it was optional, but you had to come in and carry a mask just in case.
Hmm.
And then they put squares or X's where they're supposed to be in their section.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Taekwondo is a contact sport, by the way.
Yeah. Right. 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 And it's funny
Yeah.
because those X's and circles don't appear at all of the BLM protests, right?
It's so weird. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you can only get it at the church. Remember that.
That's
Hmm.
right. Right. That's right. And pro freedom rallies.
Yeah.
So, a question about at the restaurant too, because here in Colorado now, it's weird because some restaurants, they're pretty lax. But at others, they make you write down your name, your address, and they do the temperature checks. Are they doing that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Name and
Yeah.
address?
Yeah, name, address, because the legions of contact tracers are now being employed.
Oh my
So
gosh.
if certain restaurants, I guess, if they don't comply or if they want extra variances, I
Hmm.
suppose, then that's the price of it. Is that they're turned into snitches too. So
Yeah, I know that certain areas, certain places. I know for sure the casinos, and Oklahoma's known for casinos because of
yeah,
um,
right, because
yeah,
the reservations
yeah,
and stuff. Yeah.
right. So I went to the casino last weekend, to Hard Rock Casino, and they had to check your temperature, and you had to wear a mask inside. Except for the pool area, you didn't have to wear a mask because I don't know what their thing was. They said something like if the mask is wet, it's pointless. Which they only knew the mask was pointless overall.
When it's dry, right?
Whatever
When it's
makes you
hanging
feel.
off your chin,
Yeah. But hey, everyone feels safe.
That's right. I saw a little meme graphic that goes around that says that it's not wearing a mask is not a health test; it is an IQ test,
Oh yeah, I
right?
know.
And well, yeah, I guess that depends on your perspective, but really, I think more pointedly, it's a personality test.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Or
that's actually, yeah, that's true. It
and
is.
and what this all is about, of course, is trying to fix our troublesome personalities, Charlie.
Oh my gosh, we have to cover our loud mouth.
Yeah, that's right. Right. And so, oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
it's literal and metaphorically trying to strangle us. um,
Twitter wasn't enough. They got to do it in real time now.
so just to loop around, because of course this is all related, that must have been so frustrating for
Uh,
you, especially since January when you were banned for nothing on Twitter, to
yeah.
see all of this now, right? And this is a good way to end it as well, because cancel culture, we have
Oh
a
yeah.
God bless our president, but he issued an executive order. It was supposed to stop all of the purges, the deplatformings. They haven't stopped. And while it's really incredibly difficult for you and others like you to be able to organize, you have to do it privately. You have to. I mean, it's furtive. It's almost like the Soviet underground, or like
Yeah.
right, or
It's
you're
literally underground. I mean,
right. But meanwhile, all of these literal domestic terrorists are
mhm,
doxing people on social media, out in the
mhm.
open, calling for cops to be assassinated. What's your final take on all of that? And do you did you pretty much just sort of give up on trying to get back on Twitter? Because was that a permanent suspension? Like, what
It's
happened?
permanent. It's permanent. I'm a bad girl.
You're a badass
Yeah,
girl.
badass girl. But no, I've had a lot of people say, Charlie, just come up with a new Twitter. But what I don't want to fight to be in a platform that demeans, dehumanizes, and censors people. I don't want to support a platform like that. So why would I want to come back?
Yeah.
If I was still there, then that would be different. I don't mind growing my following and making a stand. But what is the point of being there now? That's how I feel about it. Because if I get back on, I have to hide who I am, and I can't be myself, and I have to tiptoe. So basically, by signing back on, I'm just caving in to the mob.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no thanks. I'll go ahead and keep Parler. I'll keep my Instagram or Gab, and just do actually something in real life, which is the organize events and do something about it instead of keyboard warrior about it that I've been doing for the last few years. And I just finally decided just to do it. Just go
Yeah.
out there and do it. If you're going to make a difference, don't do it online. Go out and make a difference.
Amen, sister. I totally hear you on that. And I think as long as the people who are still on Twitter understand Yeah, you're controlled opposition.
Yeah, we
You
really
know?
are. They are so afraid of us, and that's what I really want to like close it with.
Mhm.
They're afraid of us, Michelle.
Yeah.
They don't want us to come together. They
Yes.
want us to sit there and be sad and feel sorry for ourselves. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to go out there and we're going to fight and we're going to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves and give them hope and even motivate them because I was quiet for a long time. There's someone else out there that's quieter than me that can make a bigger difference. And those are the people that I want to reach out to.
That is so awesome. Are you going to be live streaming, or how can we find what you're doing? It will be on Facebook.
It'll be on Facebook.
Okay.
Right now, as it's growing, I can't turn the private group into a public group, but
Mhm.
I'm okay with that because I really don't want to deal with, I just, but it'll be on United We Stand. Okay. I also have some people that are helping me post some of the videos that I will have like this weekend on their pages, and then I
Awesome.
also will share it with you. So
Okay.
that's the best way to
Sounds
communicate.
great. I will be praying for you. I hope you're safe and free and loud, because that's what we're known for, our loud mouths, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All
You're my
right.
inspiration. So
Oh, thank you. Right back at you. Take
thank
care.
you.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Bye.
All right. So that was Charlie Kay, political activist in Oklahoma. I want to make sure you all go to her Facebook page, United We Stand OK. It's a private page, but you can apply, and you can also find her on Parler at Fun Size Charlie and on Telegram at Charlie K. And coming up next, we're going to be having another brave, young, outspoken lady, Rebecca Stevens. And let's see, I'm just going to message her right now. She's going to be coming on very shortly. And she's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's going to be doing a protest against mask madness on Sunday in ABQ. And while we wait for her, Rebecca, I'm going to read through some comments, and then I'm going to also take you through some recent scientific journals on journal articles on the truth about masks. How did you all enjoy Charlie? Isn't she fantastic? It's ridiculously absurd, after having listened to her for half an hour, to think that she was permanently banned on Twitter for expressing peaceful opinions. Somebody says it's difficult to find the Facebook group for Charlie's protest. Remember, she said, if you go to United We Stand OK and then look for the name Georgia Washington, you should be able to find it. She does have amazing energy. Okay, I think I see Rebecca Stevens here. Before I bring her on, though, I wanted to share a couple of these mask facts with you. Let's see if I can bring it up. Let's see. This is the New England Journal of Medicine from May 2020. I quoted this in my newspaper column this week, which you can find at uns.com, cnsnews.com. A bunch of different websites and newspapers are running it this week. But the New England Journal of Medicine had a team of doctors, PhDs, RNs, researchers. And this is what they said about the idea of universal masking, which of course is now taking hold across the country. Quote, we know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. Public health authorities defined a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes, and some say more than 10 or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public space is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. anxiety that is manufactured and exacerbated by the public health industrial complex, by the chicken littles in the media, and by political actors with a larger control agenda. One more that I wanted to pull up for you, because I just think it's so telling, is a piece that was run in Time magazine back in April. Let's see if this comes up. Let me bring that up for you. And the only thing that changed between April and now is not the underlying science, and it's not the underlying statistics with regard to deaths and fatalities. What changed was that masks became more available. So this was back in April, as I said, and the headline is Public health experts keep changing their guidance on whether or not to wear face masks for coronavirus. And I'm going to scroll down here because there are two experts who are quoted in this piece, and I reminded everybody of this in my syndicated column. So the first researcher, William Schaffner, who is a professor of medicine and infectious disease expert at Vanderbilt University, says, quote, "There's not much we can do, so we're all walking around feeling rather victimized by this virus. By using a mask, even if it doesn't do a lot," right? He's acknowledging, even if it doesn't do a lot, moves the locus of control to you away from the virus. It gives the individual a greater sense of control in this otherwise not controlled situation. And this is followed up by a quote from a clinical psychologist from the American Psychological Association. Even if experts are saying it's really not going to make a difference to wear a mask, a little part of people's brains is thinking, well, it's not going to hurt. Maybe it'll cut my risk just a little bit, so it's worth it to wear a mask, she says. In that sense, and here's the kicker, wearing a mask is a superstitious behavior. So bear that in mind as I bring in now Rebecca Stevens, who is in Albuquerque, New Mexico, political activist and organizer of a rally that's going to be on Sunday in ABQ. Is that right, Rebecca? Oops, I can't hear you. See, hold on. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay. Yes, hello. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me on today. Yes, so we have a rally or protest, as we have to call them now, planned in Albuquerque for this coming Sunday. We started out with
Hang on, you're cutting out just a little bit. And now you're frozen. I don't know if you can hear me, but we'll see if you can move maybe to somewhere with better Wi-Fi. And I'll just keep talking while you try and maybe you should hang up and try and reconnect. But for those of you who are watching, Rebecca, I believe, has called her protest an I can't breathe protest. Okay, she's going to try and call back. I'm going to bring up her Twitter feed for you because she has come under fire by both Antifa and Black Lives Matter forces, as well as establishment GOP types, all attacking her for convening this protest on Sunday. And she is on Twitter at Politics Fireball. Let's see if I can, oops, not that. Bring this up for you. I don't have a producer, so it's just me doing everything, multitasking here. But she has been doxxed, and that's what happens when you step forward and put your name and put your neck out there. Let's see if this is it. Yes. So she's already been threatened. And there are Republicans in New Mexico who have promoted attacks on her. Here, let's see if you guys can see this. It's a little bit small, but some Antifa agitator has now put profiles of anti-mask mandate people into graphics to encourage attacks on them, which is just absolutely disgraceful. I'm going to go back to some of the pieces that I was mentioning as well. And here's another one. Again, just reminding you of the actual state of the science versus all of the rhetoric, fear-mongering, and hysteria that's going on. This piece is a commentary from two national experts. Lisa Bruzot is an expert on respiratory protection and infectious diseases and a professor retired at University of Illinois at Chicago. Margaret Sitsema is an expert on respiratory protection and an assistant professor currently at the University of Illinois in Chicago. This editorial article of theirs was published back in April and then subsequently updated just this week. Masks for all for COVID-19 are not based on sound data. The original piece, which is, let's see, I think it's down here. Well, they updated it after they had been pressured by many people to remove the article from the Center for Infectious Disease Research and Policy website at the University of Minnesota. Were pressured to remove it because their initial article we don't truly know that cloth masks or face coverings are not effective since the data are so limited. Number two, wearing a cloth mask or face covering is better than doing nothing. Number three, the article is being used by individuals and groups to support non-mask wearing where mandated. And number four, there are now many modeling studies suggesting that cloth masks or face coverings could be effective at flattening the curve and preventing many cases of infection. So we'll get back to that because I think we have Rebecca again. Let's see. Okay. Hi, better connection?
I think so, yes. I'm so sorry about that. So we have this protest going on Sunday, and basically we just have a lot of people who are very fed up in New Mexico with this mask mandate. At first, there was absolutely no requirement that people wear it. It's like, here's a recommendation. You know how they rolled it out across the country. Oh, yeah. It's slowly, here you go, we encourage you to wear that. And then it becomes the draconian, you must wear it. And then it becomes an issue where citations are filed. There's a lady running for Congress, Alexis Johnson, up in CD3, which represents everything north of Albuquerque. And she was issued a citation because she refused to wear a mask. Well, that's not the kind of America I live in. That's not the kind of New Mexico I live in. You're probably being from a neighboring state, yes. You're probably familiar with the libertarianishness, the live and let live-ness of the West. Yes. And people, especially in rural New Mexico, don't like being forced to do something when social distancing is a way of life. I mean, we don't have the crowds that New York City has. We don't have the apartment complexes everywhere. It is kind of outrageous to make a mask mandate with the same kind of standards you would have in New York City or in Orange County. I think those laws are draconian as well. But in New Mexico, it's even worse because we are so rural. We are the vast majority of the state is so just social distance. I like to describe it as social distancing as a way of life. So we're going to have a mask protest on Sunday, and we have chosen to call it "We Can't Breathe," because that's a comment I hear every single day. I run a group on Facebook called Reopen New Mexico. We have members from across the state. We have people leading it from across the state. And the one thing I hear every day is "we can't breathe." Something I hear when we have had our Reopen New Mexico protests. Now that masks became mandated, everybody is like, well, I don't want to wear a mask to one of these, Reopen New Mexico protests because I can't breathe. So we chose to use that as our messaging. And I think it's time that we take back some of the messaging the left is using, because the truth is we can't breathe. The truth is all lives matter. The truth is all women matter. Women's rights for the unborn as well as the born. So we've chosen to turn that around. The left, in turn, has made a huge deal of our event, and they've probably tripled our reach. So I think that's entertaining, but I also think it's sobering, because conservatives don't care to get involved as much as the liberals, the progressives, the socialists, the communists, the fascists who are seeking to take over our nation are. I've had so-called Republicans advertise my event as, we should not be using this narrative. Well, the truth is the left doesn't own that narrative. The truth is we can't breathe. And if I can't use the term "we can't breathe," then there's a million other, free speech problems that are going to come up, because it's one group or one person cannot have the monopoly on that. So
yes, yeah. So I found this very interesting and very revealing, and not at all surprising that you're coming under attack, not just by the usual forces, but by the virtue signalers and the capitulationists, the genuflectors, essentially, that call themselves conservatives. You're on your Twitter yesterday, and I've been catching up on all of this. You note that you've been harassed and attacked and doxxed by some of these people. And essentially the people on the right who are opposing you, so-called right who are opposing you, are countenancing that behavior.
Right. And for me, that is even more concerning than it is that we have Antifa, we have BLM, we have other groups that want to oppose that. To me, that's more concerning, because that means we have a huge, and I know you address this frequently, we have a much greater underlying issue, and that we don't even know who is on our side necessarily until the time comes to stand up and stand for what we have going on. Albuquerque has been the center of a lot of huge things going on in the past. We had you probably heard of the Trump rally in 2016.
Yes.
There was Antifa involved in that, from what I understand. There were organizations, progressive organizations like Progress Now, that were happy to promote the demonstration, and then when it turned violent, they quickly pulled their support from it. So we don't know who necessarily stirred all that up, but we definitely have our suspicions. And so Albuquerque, New Mexico is, in a sense, the Wild West, and we have a lot of concerns about where all of this is going. And just, I think conservatives as a whole need to stand up. I don't, and I've written about this, I don't think masks are, if somebody has a conviction, if they think they need to wear it, I think that's good. That's their, more power to them. But for them to come up to me and yell at me, or to say, everybody at this business, everybody at Walmart, or everybody at Albertsons, or everybody at whatever business we're talking about must wear a mask for me to feel comfortable, then suddenly you're taking away people's rights. You're taking away the supposedly the need of the mask is to protect people from spreading their own germs. And okay, we'll take that. Then we're also doing that to children who are not going to be reaching the same levels. Their breath is not going to be reaching the same levels that a 6 foot or 7 foot tall person is. And, I've had these arguments with people back and forth, and they're like, well, but then there's this, and then there's always another but. And basically, I think it should be a free choice. And in that case, I fully support being masked if that's what somebody wants to do. However, there's the asthmatics, there are the people with pre-existing conditions, there are people who will be claustrophobic, who have all different kinds of situations where a mask is going to do more harm than good. Right. And time to unmask, time to allow people to breathe.
Yeah, amen to that. The goalposts keep changing. On every aspect of this. And the masks were at the forefront of all of the flipping and flopping of the experts. I quoted the Surgeon General in my column on that this week, basically telling people they were stupid if they wore masks. And back then it was selfish, right, to wear a mask because we need to save them all up for all of the healthcare professionals. And then as soon as there was a steady, ready supply of them, all of a sudden the rationale for masks changed. And now you're selfish if you don't wear one. I'm old enough to remember, Rebecca, just a couple of months ago, that if a Target employee wanted to wear a mask, they were discouraged from doing so and may have been fired because wearing a mask exacerbated unnecessary anxiety about COVID-19. Now you can't walk into a Target without one. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what's deepening the distrust that many of us who apparently have some sort of genetic defect because we don't have a problem with questioning authority, right? These are the kinds of reasons why we're skeptical of all of the shifts in the first place. And, you have your eye on what's going on in politics, as well as the economy in New Mexico. How has this been for small businesses, self-employed people? If these mask orders become as prevalent as it seems they're going to be, if nobody stands up to them, how are you going to comply with all the new regulatory regime?
Enforcement, I think there's been a lot of discussion on enforcement, and enforcement is very difficult. It's difficult to tell somebody walking into a business, especially a small business that already has perhaps a limited number of people allowed to come in. It basically, in order to enforce this, you would have to stalk all of your customers and just follow them around the store. And I wonder at what point that becomes harassment. I wonder, at what point, because now we're hearing more and more. Actually, there was an email that was sent out yesterday by the New Mexico State Police, and a state representative shared it on Facebook, and it's gone viral in New Mexico. But basically, the Silver City Police in the town where I have come from, where my family lives, they have put out a message saying they will be giving citations. They will be requiring masks. And I hear it from the small businesses. I've worked for some of these small businesses, whether I was consulting for them or whether, it's just a fun part-time job or a summer job. And I just wonder, how are you going to issue citations to these poor business owners who honestly are trying harder than Walmart is to comply? And then they're going to be faced with, thankfully, Walmart has all these attorneys that they can fight it off and they can deal with it. But mom and pop do not have access to an attorney. I've talked with dozens of businesses that would love to hire an attorney to try to fight with some of these things, or just to have their side heard, and they can't. So I really don't know how this, I think, it's impossible to enforce, but it will come down to businesses that will be targeted. We have a legislator in Las Cruces, a state senator who, that's our second largest city in southern New Mexico. He was calling in a gun store. Well, as a progressive legislator, is anybody going to make the argument that that was not a political snitch?
Right.
It was a very political snitch. And so I think many of these other snitches we have had, I posted some of them on my website. I know many of these snitches are done by people who are politically or business oriented, in the sense that we're going to snitch somebody else out because we don't like their business, or you know what I mean, like competition, like that.
Oh yeah.
And there's been another blogger who has written about that as well, because it happened early on in the situation with social distancing with a I believe it was in Santa Fe. We had a car dealership that was called out and snitched on. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it is going to be unfair. It's going to be political targeting if Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham chooses to enforce her rules strictly. Mm-hmm. It will be political targeting. And that's what's so sad. That's what's going to be most difficult, because then businesses who maybe have objected, who, you know, how far will this go? And that is going to take us down a slippery slope into other very, very troubling things that hopefully don't even need to be expressed, because it can take us down a lot of rabbit trails that we do not want to go down.
Yeah.
Historically and in general.
You don't even have to say it. I think those of us who are well versed in history know exactly where this ends up if we don't take a stand now, which is what you're doing. You look at New Mexico, Colorado, Oklahoma City, where Charlie Kay is having one of these rallies as well this weekend. And between the civil penalties, the criminal penalties, I mean, I think Michigan and also some places here in Colorado, you could face up to a year in jail for defying the mask orders. Between all of that, and then the social sanctioning, right? Just the cultural sanctions that are being enforced, right, by Hollywood and politicians, the whole thing. It's incredibly frightening, and there are other slippery slopes, because they're not just going to stop with masks.
Right. And I mean, I think it's interesting that this mask rule, I slip up and call it law a lot,
right?
But this mask rule is also causing people to potentially allowing loopholes that can cause people to break federal law. I experimented with this. So I went into Walmart, and because I think we all can say things about the big W without any objection.
That's right.
So I went into the big W and wearing a giant Wonder Woman mask. It is 4 times the size of my head. You know, it's huge, 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 huge. And I bought a cartload of alcohol. They cannot prove who I am. They did not ask me to take the mask off. I probably look young enough that I could potentially, I've had people think that I'm high school age. For years. I'm young looking. So that to me was just a hilariously disgusting red flag. We are willing to break federal and state law for what? For a mask? I mean, who knows what else is going on? But to me, that was just the ability to be able to do that tells me a lot more than I feel like I should know about what's going on and where we're. And it leads to potentially another form of lawlessness. Of course, I am over 21. I'm, perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But, it can set a lot. It can just lead down to a lot of other slippery slopes where all of this can go. And there aren't checks and balances. And there aren't, we have, there's no like wear masks and use common sense. No, it's none of that. It's all, it feels like it's just based on mythology, based on a legend, based on some crazy idea that a teenager thought up in middle,
Right. Well, the expert that I quoted called it superstitious behavior.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's performative. There's a costumery about it all, especially when you see these celebrities or, these governors taking selfies of themselves. And virtue signaling is like, I don't know, it's not adequate to describe exactly what we're seeing here. You know, kabuki theater in the extreme. So where if people are from the Albuquerque area, or they want to drive to come join you, what's the best way for them to figure out how to do that or get in touch with you?
So I have a website. It's called Reopen.
Org.
And I would encourage people to check that out.
Okay, you just
it has
cut
a
out.
Link to. Sure.
It's Reopen New Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a website. It's called Reopen NM. Reopen NM, which stands for New Mexico.org. And yes, reopennm.org. And I will be promoting this event is not only promoted there, we will be promoting other Reopen New Mexico rallies, because this is not just about masks. I'm not anti-mask per se. I am anti-draconian overreach. Right. So I would recommend people visit our website, reopennm.org. We also have a Facebook group. We have all different kinds of ways to reach out to us. They can email us. We have information on the rally there. It is at Civic Plaza in Albuquerque, Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon local time. And I would encourage everybody that can make it to attend, because I think it's time to speak up, and it's time to be unmasked if we choose to do so.
That sounds fantastic. Rebecca, thank you for stepping up to the plate and letting us know more about what you're doing. Please be safe and free, and hopefully we'll be able to see video or pictures if people follow you on your Twitter, right?
Yes, ma'am. We will definitely be sharing. I will definitely be sharing videos, pictures, probably some edited speaking if we have any, a number of people are interested in speaking. So we will be sharing that as well, all that information.
Awesome. And you're on Twitter at Politics Fireball, and that is what you are for sure. Thanks a lot, Rebecca. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this show, and especially those of you who may have just come here for the first time after watching my Facebook Live that I did earlier as a preview. I hope you'll spread the word. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Michelle Malkin. If you are watching on Periscope and Twitter, I'm not even going to bother to tell you to follow me on Twitter, whatever, retweet it if you see it. I'm throttled, I'm shadow banned. My follower count has been suppressed for 12 years. And as we saw with some of the screenshots from the hackers this week, we now know that there's an internal dashboard for certain Twitter employees to blacklist people off of the search terms as well as the hashtag trends. I have said for years now that I've long suspected that I was a guinea pig on those blacklists going all the way back to 2012. So thank you, hackers, and thank you, Twitter Insider, for confirming rather than revealing, right? It's always more confirmation than revelatory. But the word will get out there, and I appreciate all of my viewers. Make sure you follow me as well on Telegram at Michelle Malkin and Parler at Michelle Malkin. Have a great weekend, everyone. You'll probably hear from me on Sunday. I'm supposed to be doing a pro-police rally in Denver at the Capitol that's been turned into a total crap hole. So you'll see me with a backdrop of all of the vandalism and anti-cop graffiti. And hopefully we'll be able to demand that our illustrious governor, who called us selfish bastards, that's what he called us, selfish bastards, for wanting to breathe freely. Hopefully we can redirect his attention to the crap hole in his own backyard. Take care.